everybody. Welcome to Veteran Uncensored. My name is Chris Rodriguez, your host for today. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and become a member. You can also chat and let us know what you think. I definitely want to know what you think about this topic today. President Trump releasing strikes on Iran. Possibly nine bombs is what Sean Hannity is saying right now. Reported he had a personal phone call with President Trump, and it looks like that must have been the ultimate amount of bombs that we use. The planes that were seen going towards different. I think it was Guam. Certainly, it was a disguise, if you will, because just wouldn't have made sense for them to go there and then fly to the Middle East. They wouldn't have been there in time. I think it was a disguise. But regardless, we were very successful. President Trump will be coming live at any moment in time in about 30 minutes or so. Please smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel. It's free. It doesn't hurt anybody, and you just support us. So please hit the like button. We're gathering a good amount of subscribers as of late. So we should help us continue that as we speak. All right. So I guess without further ado, I mean, I don't know what you think. Let me know in the chat what you're thinking. This caught everybody by surprise, to say the least. And how do I feel about this particular? By the way, we attacked Natanz, Isfahan, and of course the original target, which is Fordo. And it looks like from what Henry is being told is that that Fordo is completely obliterated. Now, I think we need to expect retaliation. I think that we need to expect. We better be getting ready. Our defenses need to be up in the homeland, in most certainly in the Middle East, and our troops over there. We got to take care of our troops most importantly, and of course the homeland. Obviously, that's something that we definitely need to be keeping our eye on. Iran has been known for poisoning people as well, and people dying under mysterious causes. So make sure we are pretty much. We have to be on it now for a long time until Iran decides to back off and surrender. And to be honest with you, I do not expect that whatsoever. So I just don't. I don't think so. Now, when it comes to Trump, what do I think about his decision? Listen, at this point, you have to agree with what he did. This is not a war. We are not putting people on the ground. We are not putting troops on the ground. Boots are not on the ground. We're not going to go war with manpower. We simply drop bombs to destroy their nuclear weapon opportunities. And other than that, we are flying back home as we speak. So that is that. There won't be a war unless Iran decides to come at us. And if they do attack the United States of America in any shape or form, well, then Iran, who can barely keep up with Israel as we speak at the moment. So I don't understand why people are afraid of, really. We had to do what we had to do. We had to destroy those opportunities for Iran. They cannot have a nuclear weapon when they chant death to America every chance they get. And I'm talking about the regime, not talking about people. Certainly some people do follow this regime, but a lot of people would want them gone as much as we do. So it's not speaking for the Iranian people in general, but I'm actually very relieved that we were able to do this. We have to be proactive. We have to. I think this was an action in defense. It was a defensive action, to be fair, a preventive action, if you will. We didn't go out there and attack their people. That would have been a huge crime, and that would have been uncalled for. We went out there and destroyed their nuclear facilities, and I think that was warranted. Now, we did this because of the United States of America, because of the U.S.'s interest in this matter. And of course, it happened that we did help Israel in this situation. But it's not like Trump made this decision because Israel told him to. Trump made this decision based on America's interest in this matter. It's plain and simple, right? If you want to look at it in another way, well, you can do that. If you want to look at it in a way where it looks like Netanyahu is the one that runs the U.S. and all of this banter, all of this propaganda, all of this narrative that you see from pundits out there, well, then it is what it is. You're just gullible. But the fact of the matter is that Trump did this because of America's interest. Nobody can agree, from what I've seen all over the place, nobody will ever agree that Iran should be allowed to have nuclear weapons. Now, you can debate on the strategy, on the tactics, but at the end of the day, think about it. Iran is never going to come to the negotiating table. They're never going to give up their nuclear weapons. It feels like an insult to them. It's a pride thing with them, right? And their supreme leader, so-called supreme leader, he is 80 plus years of age. He's not. He's got nothing to. I mean, he's already on the way out. He's not really carrying anything. He's set in his ways. He's not giving up. He's certainly not going to bend the arm to Donald Trump or not even entertain a negotiation with us. And so it was never going to happen. Iran was never going to submit their nuclear weapons. They just never were going to do that. So we cannot afford to risk the lives of American people. And when there is a country out there, or there's a regime out there, because this is a theocracy, really, and it's a shame what they do to their own people. They hang their people, they kill gay people, they just if you go against the government or say anything against the government, they will obliterate you, plain and simple, right? So they're pretty sick people, to be fair. And so, with that being said, there's no negotiating with them. They're not going to negotiate. They're so in deep into their theocracy that they're never going to negotiate. So what is the point? Are we going to just sit back and see how from 2018 until now they went from 6% to 60% in uranium, which is, I mean, obviously they don't. Tulsi Gabbard did have a point when she said they don't have nuclear weapons, but the fact of the matter is that increase is very alarming. And they are the country that chants death to America. So we need to take people at their word. So unfortunately, it had to be done. Now, again, we didn't attack their people. We didn't destroy, regular civilians. We went out there. President Trump said it. We're going to hear from him in just a minute, by the way. So stay tuned to the channel. We're going to hear him from President Trump as he addresses the nation pretty soon. And also, we're going to go to Fox News here in a second, see what the guys are saying there, because it could be interesting to enlighten us and to hear all the professionals that come on and have their say. But Trump said it clearly. We sent our bombers there. We had a mission. We accomplished the mission. The planes are out of Iran airspace. They're heading back home. No issues. There's not a war. Iran better not retaliate. Better not attack the U.S. Because if they do, then they will face the United States military at full wrath, full strength. And quite honestly, Iran, maybe this is one of their things where, but this regime, the way they think in this radical Islamic regime, they probably won't care. They probably will retaliate to the point where, because they don't care for their lives. See, I was in the military. I know. I've been trained on these people. They don't really care. Because when they die, they think that they're dying for their cause. They're welcomed with open arms in their, I don't know what they're called, heaven or with Allah. So they don't really care whether they die or not. That's why it's so difficult to fight them, because the lack of morality is very much impossible to comprehend at times. So you better believe that they're going to try to retaliate. And this old man, their supreme, in quote, supreme leader, because I don't see he's not a supreme leader of anybody, maybe the people that are surrounding him, they're probably just waiting for him to die and then take over, quite honestly. But you better believe they're going to retaliate. And it would be stupid of them, because if they do, their regime is over. Quite honestly, their regime is over if they really try Israel. They can't even keep up with Israel. And if the United States of America gets involved, well, they're just not going to last a couple of weeks, if that. So they really don't want that problem, right? That is just my personal opinion. But let us listen and hear what they're saying on Fox News right now. This is live, by the way.
It's not because I'm Nostradamus. It's because I know the man. He's the one that said no to the Obama plan, no nukes. He's the one that's campaigned for 10, 11 years, no nukes. And so we knew that the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran was not going to bend. They were going to do head fakes and so forth and so on. You know, I talk about this movie, The Bridge Over the River Kwai. 1957, you had Colonel Nicholson. And he was this British colonel, and he was the commander, and the Japanese ordered him to build this bridge over the River Kwai. He was so proud of his bridge. He was the architect. Here are these British, they're POWs, they're building it. Some of them die during the course of it. And then he's given the order when the Japanese troop train comes across to blow it up. And he won't blow it up. You know why, Sean? He was so proud of his bridge. And then he's shot, and he falls in the plunger, and it blows up. Some people are in love with diplomacy. Some people are in love with yelling peace. Some people don't understand that the military can be used wisely, and it can be used foolishly. Donald Trump is not an ideologue. Foreign policy is about prudence. It's not about painting by the numbers. Sloganeering is not leadership. I'm for peace. I hear young people go on TV, and this is a problem, saying, I'm a different generation. Forget about the past wars. Really? Reagan destroyed the Soviet Union. Should we forget about that? People need to learn history and understand history. Clinton gave the North Koreans the nuclear weapon because he didn't have the guts to bomb them. Obama gave the Iranians the nuclear weapon. Biden helped fund it, and Trump took it away. That is a leader. These leaders don't come around all the time. The United States military is a tremendous military. People who say they have faith in them trash them for everything that we've done in the past. Oh, look at Vietnam. Oh, look at North Korea. Look at this. Look at that. Look at it. It's about time we rally around this president, rally around our United States military, accept the fact this is a high point in American history and world history. What Israel has done and what Donald Trump just did is not only historic, but they have just protected the entire earth from these barbarians.
Yes.
And Western Europe, they're sitting there. What did Western Europe want to do?
Not doing nothing.
They want ceasefires. They want de-escalation. Western Europe is weak. That's why wars start in Western Europe. That's why World War I started there and World War II started there. And I would tell the demagogues in our country, were you going on about World War III? Donald Trump just prevented World War III by using the United States military to stop it. Now, it's important that we take lessons from this. One other thing. The Democrat Party today, every damn one of them is talking about impeaching Donald Trump. He didn't tell us what to do. These people hate America. They should be celebrating, at least for once, in a bipartisan way, this man and what he has accomplished. What he has accomplished is no small feat. It's historic in every respect. Let me tell you something. On my show tomorrow, I'm not plugging it. I just want people to know. We're going to deal with this War Powers Act. We're going to explain why it's unconstitutional. We're going to explain why the Democrats and people like Tommy Massey and Rand Paul and the other, whatever, why they're waving it around. Because they don't believe that we should use our military in this way either, and they do not believe in the Constitution of the United States. This man just defended the free world, and he deserves our celebration, as does the United States military. And by the way, Netanyahu and the Israelis, a tiny country, my God, look at what they've accomplished too. I'm ecstatic tonight because the free world won and the enemy lost. How about that, America?
Yeah.
The world is a more peaceful place. You know what, Mark? I'm for peace too. I'm against forever wars, as you are. The heart and soul, if you listen to Donald Trump during the campaign, every speech he gives is simple, basic, common sense. You control your borders. You live within your means. You cut out waste, fraud, and abuse. You get rid of murderers and rapists and gang members and known terrorists that Joe and Kamala let into the country. And common sense says you don't let the #1 state sponsor of terror have nuclear weapons. Great one. Mark Levin, we'll try to get back to you if you're around after the president speaks. We expect him to speak in about 15 minutes from right now. But here now with analysis of tonight's very successful air campaign against Iran is the former 8th Air Force Commander, retired Lieutenant General Mark Wetherington is with us. Mark, thank you for being with us. Can you know so much more, and I was watching some of your commentary one day, and I was kind of blown away by your knowledge of bunker buster bombs and your knowledge of B-2s and their capability. Now that we have confirmation that we believe 6 bunker busters were used, for example, in the Fordo facility, the Israelis were only able to take out about 75% of the other 2 sites. The rest of that was taken out tonight. Tomahawk missiles fired from 400 miles away from U.S. submarines, an incredible military feat. Can you walk us through what these bunker buster bombs are capable of, and these B-2s, and how they deliver them, and how the system works, and what really happened in Iran tonight?
Well, Sean, thanks for having me. And first, let me just say how grateful I am that our airmen that executed this very complex mission, our sailors who executed the Tomahawk mission from their positions in the theater, and all those thousands of Joint Force members who participated in this effort, that they're safe. We still have a ways to go. We certainly have to recover those aircraft, and we certainly have to prepare for a response that's probably inevitable. We've got thousands of soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians in the theater, and I know we've got forces there to protect them. So that's the first thing on my mind this morning, or this afternoon. When it comes to the bunker busters and the B-2, I think we've all alluded to it earlier today. It's the only capability like this in the world. No other nation has the capability to conduct a long-range strike of this intensity, of this type, of this scale. No one else has this kind of weapon to get to a complex target as deep as it is. I trust that the administration did a fantastic job of reviewing the intelligence available to them, looking at options, and coming up with an attack that would achieve their objectives. I would caution you and say it will be days, weeks, maybe months for us to do a full functional analysis and really understand if this attack, a very successful attack by all accounts, but did this attack achieve the objectives? How much did it set back that Iranian program, and for how long?
Well, wouldn't you think, based if they were able to hit the Fordo facility, for example, with 5 or 6 bunker buster bombs, that thing is destroyed? Initially, the belief was, and a lot of people, so-called experts, people that know a lot more than me, thought that 2 would do it. 5 minimum, maybe 6 tonight in that one facility. And Natanz in that facility was 75% taken out. And if you go to the 3rd facility, Esfahan, that facility, and you look at that one, that was 75% taken out, and they got hit with all of those Tomahawk missiles. Doesn't it sound like probably little to nothing exists?
Sean, there's no doubt in my mind that there's been significant damage to those sites, including the Fordo facility. You got to trust that we really understood and could characterize that complex. It's a large complex. There's a lot of things that have to go right. So what we know now is the weapons were successfully released, and we're going to assume right now that they achieved those results. But there's a lot of analysis that will still have to happen.
Yeah. I will tell you, thank God, we do need to pause sometimes and thank all of the people that were involved, all the people involved in the planning and the strategies and the intelligence, and, of course, our brave men and women in the military, and the president for having the courage to do what was right, what was common sense, and not allow the #1 state sponsor of terror that, through their proxies and themselves, have fired hundreds of thousands of missiles at our friend and ally Israel. How many missiles would it take to be fired into this country before we would demand our government fight back? Israel has shown incredible patience, but now their very survival was being threatened. Anyway, retired Lieutenant General Mark Wetherington, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now joining us live with congressional reaction to tonight's U.S. strikes is our very own Chad Program. Chad, I'm sure you're hearing from all of your congressional sources tonight. I'm dying to hear what they have to say.
Well, Sean, there have been two members from the Democratic side of the aisle who've called for impeachment. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Democrat from New York, has just put out a statement saying this may ensnare us in war for, quote, generations, and clearly there are grounds for impeachment. Sean Casten is a Democrat from Illinois, and he says this is an unambiguous impeachable offense. We've also heard, this is not a partisan issue necessarily. There are some Republicans who have some reservations about this. Thomas Massey, the Republican from Kentucky, who has a resolution that he hopes to bring to the floor in the coming days with Ro Khanna, the Democrat from California, to prohibit
in
U.S.
fairness, Chad,
action in Iran.
in fairness, I think it does need to be pointed out. Tom Massey never agrees with the Republican Party. Let's be honest here. He is a lone wolf, and he has pretty much isolated himself from the rest of the coalition. I don't think he represents it. I think whatever AOC says would be to be expected. We have also heard from John Fetterman. He was very happy with the president's actions today. So there, at least somebody on the Democratic side understands the need that you cannot allow nuclear weapons in the hands of people that have shown no respect for human life at all whatsoever.
And Sean, I was struck yesterday by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Democrat from Florida, pro-Israel, and she said, we need to keep, and this was pretty much the quote, our foot on the neck of Iran. She was, had some reservations here, but she is a pro-Israel Democrat, and much like Fetterman, maybe thought that this was the right thing to do. But there are some other Republicans who've expressed some reservations here, and then I'm going to go to what Tim Kaine said here in a minute. Warren Davidson, Republican of Ohio, he says it's hard to convince me that this is something that is legal under the Constitution. Now, Tim Kaine, the Democrat from Virginia, he already had teed up a resolution to be considered in the Senate this week to say we have to vote under our war powers, under Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, to decide whether or not to go into Iran. That was set up probably to have some vote later this coming week here. And he accused the president of, quote, horrible judgment. He said this is going to push us into a third idiotic, his words, idiotic war. Now, most Republicans have been willing to give deference to the president here. The congressional leadership was briefed, according to a senior White House official. We heard very early on from John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, and House Speaker Mike Johnson, and they clearly thought that this was the right thing to do. And generally what we've gotten from Republicans, despite what I said about Davidson and Massey, is that they've thought that the president has the authority to do this. Even Adam Smith, who is the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee, said yesterday, he said, we're going to, quote, flail around in Congress. We will call for hearings. We will call for investigations. We will call for answers. He said, but the president of the United States is going to do what he's going to do under the War Powers Clause in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution. He says, Congress is always kind of cut out of this. That might not be precisely what the founders intended, but so far, most Republicans are willing to stand by the president. I would be very interested to see what the reaction is after a briefing that comes up in the Senate on Tuesday. This was already on the books, a classified briefing for all senators about, what the information was. Now this story has changed dramatically here. But if they start to see this go the other direction, or there start to be, collateral damage, or maybe there's retaliation somewhere, does that harden and stiffen the resolve of some members? Or do they say, look, we need to hit back, and we need to hit back hard? I was, reminded what happened to the Marines in Beirut in the early 1980s. And that was an Iranian, proxy, killed 241 service members at the barracks in Beirut. And this is where there's a lot of concern about maybe retaliation by Iranian proxies on our bases in the region. There are sleeper cells, according to Tom Cotton and others, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, inside the United States. Would that have some sort of an impact here? Or maybe they could strike at American tourists in Europe. That's something that people are going to be on edge. The other thing.
By the way, Netanyahu congratulating Trump on this attack, on these strikes. We might play it in a second.
Committee. He's a Democrat from Connecticut. He said, this is probably not going to be one and done. He said, we're probably going to have to go back at least a couple more times, and then also have some sort of a battle plan. Senator Blumenthal said, he was not convinced that we had an after plan that was sufficient to his stance right there. So that's something that members of Congress are going to have big questions about. And I should remind everyone that this comes right as the Senate this week was supposed to consider the big, beautiful bill and maybe pass it by this time next weekend. Does that interfere with this at all? Because everybody is so focused on what's going on in Iran and Israel. And if there are some sort of aftershocks, does that impact the Senate floor traffic? So far we don't know. The goal is to get that done sometime in the next few days. There's even a meeting tomorrow about kind of trying to weed in, what's out of that bill. That's very important. But you could see sometimes that events, as Harold Macmillan, the British Prime Minister, said, events are the most important factors in politics. We've had an event tonight, and whether or not that would impact the floor traffic on the Senate, we don't think so, but it's very early on here so far, Sean.
All right, Chad, we'll be following a lot of news. I know you will be reporting throughout the week this week. Thank you, as always. We expect President Trump to speak maybe in the next 4 minutes, as early as the next 4 minutes. When that happens, we will bring that live to you. But we bring back Jennifer Griffin, who has new information from the Pentagon tonight. Jennifer, what are you hearing?
Well, Sean, those B-2 bombers that took part in the strike on Fordo, they are on their way back home. They are on their way back to Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. That's a round trip of about 30 hours, and they will be refueled along the way. In terms of bomb damage assessment, as Chad was discussing, there's no indication at this point that there needs to be a second wave of airstrikes. The initial bomb damage assessment, which was done immediately over Fordo, the president himself said in a tweet, in a Truth Social post, that Fordo is gone. What he meant by that is that the 6 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs that were dropped, most likely there were 3 bunker busters dropped in each of the 2 vents, I'm told, that are at Fordo. So there was a lot of focus on the entrance and the exit to the site, but in fact, I'm told what was much more important to look at were the vents. And there are 2 vents into Fordo, and if they dropped 3 bunker busters into those, they would have dropped them sequentially. The first 30,000-pound bomb would have cleared the way, would have gone down at least 200 feet, exploded, removed earth, and then the second and third would have gone in. And that is why I think the president said with confidence tonight that Fordo is gone. But I've also been speaking to other sources, Sean, who tell me that Isfahan, the underground enrichment site at Isfahan, was in fact a harder target than Fordo. A lot of talk about Fordo in recent days, but again, all part of this operation has been a great deal of deception. So all eyes on Fordo and the B-2 bombers, but at Isfahan and Natanz, we understand, based on your conversation with the president, that 30 Tomahawk missiles were fired from those submarines, submarine or submarines. It's not clear whether one or more were used, but 30 Tomahawks targeted Isfahan and Natanz, and I'm told that Isfahan was in fact the hardest of the 3 sites. And in terms of what kind of submarine was used, I'm told from well-placed sources that it was likely a converted Ohio-class guided missile sub. So that would be like the USS Florida or USS Georgia, as Lucas first reported earlier this evening, Sean.
Interesting. By the way, President Trump will be speaking, and we were going to show it live to you in just a minute. So the page is up, and we're just waiting for that to be announced. The outrage on X right now is just unbelievable. And quite honestly, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And Tommy Robinson here, which I'm not trying to defend, he's a very liked and hated person, so I'm not trying to get into what he is about, but he posted something that makes a lot of sense. What he said is, imagine hating the Jews so much that you end up defending a terrorist regime that literally kills women for showing their hair. And that is a fact. This is a regime, a theocracy. This is a radical Islam, and they have killed American soldiers, and they continue to kill their own people because they don't follow their, in quote, religious rules. And a lot of people on X, outrageous, defending, calling for impeachment towards Trump. It is sad. It is shocking. It's just their political agenda is always going to be there. I've criticized Trump for a lot of things that I didn't agree with him, and I've praised him a lot. I was a military member when I was deployed in South Korea, and he went there, and I thought we were going to go to war with North Korea, and he avoided that. he came into an agreement and got a deal done with Kim Jong Un, and I couldn't believe it. I thought he was going to put his ego. I believed what the media was saying, that he was going to put his ego in the way, and we were going to be sent to war, and it didn't happen. So I, for one, know what it is to have Donald Trump as your commander in chief, and to be honest, he surprised me. And by the way, he gave us a lot of pay raises, so it wasn't bad at all compared to the other ones that I've had. And so shout out to President Trump. He did exactly what he needed to do. Let's keep going with Fox. In moments, President Trump will be speaking live.
It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast, 7 o'clock on the West Coast. And if you are just joining us, 3 nuclear facilities inside of Iran have been struck. And according to President Trump, it looks like Fordow, that was the site that was buried deep in a mountain. That was the most difficult site that Israel needed help with, is completely gone tonight, with 6 bunker buster bombs being used in that case to take out those sites. On the other 2 sites where the Israelis had taken out about 75% of their nuclear capability, enrichment capability, the president used and authorized the use of Tomahawk missiles, and they were fired from about 400 miles away from U.S. submarines. All missions seem to be a complete success. This phase of the mission seems to be a complete success. But we go back to Trey Yangst. He's in Israel tonight with the latest information there. Obviously, like the United States has gamed out any possible retaliation, so too have the Israelis, I am sure, Trey.
Yes, Sean, absolutely. Right now, Israel is bracing for the possibility that Iran responds to these American strikes targeting the country's nuclear facilities. We're also tonight getting the first reaction from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He released a lengthy statement praising President Trump for these strikes. He says, quote, "Tonight, President Trump and the U.S. acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel, thank you. The forces of civilization, thank you. God bless America, God bless Israel, and God bless
Trey,
our unshakable alliance." Sean?
I'll come right back to you, but first, let's go to the White House.
President
This
Trump.
is a Fox News alert. Here's the president.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Trump at the White House with Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. The president went on in a statement, a very powerful statement, ending with him thanking God and the United States military. He praised the military of Israel, the military of the United States, said hopefully we will no longer need their services. He also said, and he had stated this many times going back to 2011, that the #1 state sponsor of terror cannot have nuclear weapons. And tonight, that threat has been removed. A spectacular success, completely, totally obliterated the nuclear capability of Iran. And they worked as a team, meaning Israel and the U.S., like no other team before. And the president says, again, hopefully the military, that option will no longer be necessary. That choice will lie with whatever remaining leadership we have in Iran as of tonight. We don't know the answer to that. A lot of top military leaders have been taken out. Reports today that 3 other top Iranian Revolutionary Guard generals had been taken out, and one included one of the organizers of what happened on October 7, 2023 in Israel. President Trump just addressing the nation. We go back to Trey Yangst. He is in Israel tonight. I would expect as we head into dawn that Prime Minister Netanyahu will be addressing his nation probably in the early morning hours.
Yeah, Sean, absolutely. We're witnessing a historic moment in the Middle East right now that has a real chance to change the status quo for the region. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has just released his first remarks following the American strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities. He says tonight President Trump and the U.S. acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel, thank you. He goes on to talk about the close coordination between the Americans and the Israelis. But we just heard from President Trump there speaking at the White House, and he made clear what he has effectively done, Sean, is taken away Iran's leverage in any sort of conversations moving forward. Because remember, Iran had 2 key levers to pull. They had their ballistic missile program that has been largely decimated by Israeli strikes, and they had their nuclear program that has been largely decimated by American strikes. And tonight the region is in a new place. There is a new path forward, and President Trump is giving the Iranians yet another chance to step back from what would be more American strikes and Israeli strikes targeting what's left of IRGC leadership and what's left of the political leadership inside Iran. Now, I spoke tonight with an Israeli security source asking what the mood was like in the security echelon here in Israel. That source said everyone is just repeating, God bless America, God bless President Trump. They described this as euphoria and historic for these officials, saying there is a sense of relief. Remember, the Israelis largely considered Iran as the big war that they would face. The past 9 days have been incredibly difficult for the Israeli people as they've come under ballistic missile fire following the launch of this Israeli operation against those nuclear sites and against top nuclear scientists inside of Iran. But tonight, the region has changed. The nuclear sites have been largely destroyed, according to President Trump. There still is a minor threat of ballistic missile fire, but we understand that tonight Israel remains on high alert. They are entering into a new state of emergency, changing the home front command guidelines for the civilian population here of more than 9 million people, trying to limit public gatherings tomorrow, canceling workplaces and schools. understanding that Iran may decide to respond. But again, the latest information, Sean, that we have here tonight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reacting to these American strikes that targeted Iranian nuclear facilities, Isfahan, Natanz, and Fordow. The places that the Iranians were enriching uranium, trying to get closer to weapons-grade material that they would then use in a nuclear bomb. President Trump announcing tonight from the White House those sites have been destroyed, and Iran no longer has the leverage that they had just 24 hours ago going into any future conversations with the Americans or the Europeans across the world. John?
All right, Trey Yangst in Israel tonight. We'll get back to you. I want to go back to President Trump. He just made a statement. He addressed the nation a short time ago. The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and he went on to describe in great detail what happened. Everybody heard those names for years, and he also did mention Farhon, the third site that was hit. Both Farhon and Natanz were hit with Tomahawk missiles from a U.S. submarine some 400 miles away. Fordow, that was the one that was buried deep inside the mountain. That was hit with not 1, not 2, but 6 bunker buster bombs. The conventional thinking leading into tonight, if tonight were to occur, was that we would only need 2. He was able to assure the nation tonight that the strikes were a spectacular military success and that Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. And Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks would be greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying, and by the way, they were saying it on Friday, death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. I went over that in the last hour. All the incidences, and I didn't even list them all, of all the Americans that have been killed because of Iranian military activity. That was their specialty, he went on. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, General Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. And then he congratulated Prime Minister Netanyahu and how they worked as a team, perhaps like no other team has ever worked before. We've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they have done. Most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots, those that flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope so. And then he went on to congratulate all of the people involved. And he said, this cannot continue. There will either be peace or there will be great tragedy for Iran, far greater than we have witnessed over the last 2 days. And he said, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all by far and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision and speed and skill. And most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There's never been a military that could do what took place a little while ago. And he went on to thank everybody and ended with thanking God. And I want to say this. We love you, God. We love our great military. Please protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. God bless America. And with that said, we know Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We got his first remarks as well. President Trump and I often say peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. And that, the first, I'm sure, of what will be another statement that we expect sometime.
All right. So that is then what was transpired. President Trump came out for 5 minutes and spoke in the truth. And I think he got me when he thanked God. And I'm pretty sure, because of what I've heard, that President Trump, he might not seem, like it, but he prays a lot. and he asks God for guide for to be a guide, as everybody should. Praise the Lord and for keeping the world safe, for guiding President Trump towards the right direction, to keeping us safe in this world. God speaks on not speak, but war is necessary if warranted. If warranted, it is necessary. We should never attack other countries to expand or to annihilate people just because. But to defend the world, as President Trump did, and also obviously defend America, I think that we made the right decision. So praise God, and thank you all of you for watching the show. I appreciate everybody's support. Hit the like button. And we may bring more live shows, of course, but definitely videos are coming your way. So please watch the videos. A lot of videos being uploaded in the last few days. So watch them all, reacting to the latest trending stories in America and in the world. So stay tuned for more. Hit the like button, subscribe, follow on Rumble, subscribe on YouTube. This is Chris Rodriguez with Veteran Uncensored, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.